Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at a mod for the Bruckell LeGran that adds a limo version of the vehicle to the game. So we have four versions. We have the race, which is basically the version for the streets. Then we have the gambler, which is made for off-roading. Then we have the crawler, which is made for more heavy-duty off-roading. And then we have the monster, which is made to climb over whatever is in your way. We're going to start with the gambler because I want to do some off-roading, but I don't want to pull out the big guns just quite yet. So when you look at this, it really does just look like a stretched LeGran. There are some very small differences you'll notice though. For example, on the front, it has a much bigger radiator because it has a much bigger engine stuffed into here. If we tear off the hood, you see that's a nice big fat engine. And then you can also see a little bit of the frame as well, because if you look down below, this thing basically has a truck frame on the underside that the LeGran body is strapped to. And it seems to work perfectly well. Also, we should go ahead and take a look at the inside because the important thing about a limo is not what the front looks like. It's what the rear seats look like. And it does have a limo style configuration, so you got seats going forward and backwards. There's no fancy bar or anything like that. After all, it is a little bit on the smaller side in terms of limos. The front, as far as I can tell, is just the normal LeGran front. So now back to here. Let's go ahead and get one with all the parts attached. And then let's do some off-roading. And even though technically this one is the lower end off-roader, it is still very, very capable. Here's my goal. We're going to drive super recklessly and try to get to the highest point on Small Island, USA. And I bet it can do it. Already we've flown through the air in some ridiculous ways, but this vehicle does a great job of remaining in control in the air. I think because it's so long, it makes it more stable than like a hopper, where the hopper, it's really easy to kind of flip it over. This thing, it's got that length to it, so it does like a little lean, and then it's all okay. We did have a tire deflate, but that's barely stopping us. Again, it's got that lean and go, lean and go. Kind of came to a stop right there because it had a downshift. And we are getting very, very close to the top. We could be taking the slightly easier path. Do we need to, though? That's the question. I don't know. Right here might be a little difficult. Oh, if only we had a little more momentum, we could have made that. If we came at a slightly different angle or with a little bit more speed, we would have been fine. But it's not a big deal. We just back it up a little bit, align ourselves with a slightly easier route, for example, the dirt path I was talking about, and we should be able to easily get all the way to the top of Small Island. If the transmission can choose a gear. I do notice it is starting to overheat just a little bit, but that is really not a concern because we are almost to the top. So by the time it actually causes engine damage, it would be way too late. And you can tell we're at the very top because there is that little post there. So we are now the king of Small Island, USA. All the land you see before me, that is my land because I earned it. Now, let's see how durable it is. It climbed the hill. Can it go down the hill? Obviously, it could do that if we took a normal path, but I'm just flooring it and going straight down the side and seeing what happens here. And it didn't exactly make it. Like, it got to like the lower section of the hill, almost the bottom basically, but the rear drive shaft is broken and we only have like one wheel on the front that does anything. So anyways, here is a look at the damage. All we really need to focus on is that center section because the first third and the last third are basically stock. So it's just, how does that center section look? And it looks fine. So we're going to go ahead and bring this thing back to the top of the hill so we can drive down it again. But this time we're going bigger and we're going beefier. We're going to use the monster version, which is basically the gambler taken to the extreme. So it has bigger tires on it, so it has more ground clearance. It has a bigger engine. In fact, the engine is so big, it can't even fit in the car normally, so the hood is just thrown away. Over on the rear, we have a shiny quad exhaust setup, and of course, most importantly, truck nuts. Here's my question though, is it still truck nuts if it's attached to a car? I don't really know. But you can see they do move around as you drive and it's just amusing to look at. So now, let's take this thing down the mountain and we're just gonna drive it basically straight off the edge here and see what happens. We have flipped over and damaged the exhaust, but I think the suspension should be good to go. All it does is it makes it louder. So in the end, that's just an upgrade. As far as I'm concerned, that is a straight up upgrade, although we have completely destroyed the left front tire now. I saw like a little bit, yeah, there is some glitchiness going on there. I don't know if that's the tire or the suspension. I want to say that's actually coming from the tire, the way it's spinning around. But either way, we still have some drivability left. We can drive this thing all the way to the beach and then let it fly into the water and drown. It did it great. Although I probably shouldn't have put it in the water because you're probably going to want to see what the damage looks like. So we're going to have to tear this thing out of here real quickly. Grab a nice solid spot on the frame, and then we're just going to drag it along the beach. Did it land on the wheels? No, but we can fix that real quickly. And now a look at the damage. It has quite a bit of damage, but overall, like, it should still have been able to drive after all of that destruction. It's surprisingly durable. Now what I want to do is test it against a vehicle. So we're just grabbing any vehicle really, and we're going to drive all over this guy. It has this beefy off-road suspension that literally looks like it can climb over vehicles. So I want to know, can it climb over vehicles actually? First test, going to be charging at it at about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Got airtime going into it, so this should be really easy right here. This is the easy mode of climbing over an ETK. Although this is a little ugly, no, I lied. This is a little beautiful. We are lined up for round 2 just like that. Charging right at them, this time without the jump, and we made it over just fine. And we can still drive, so we can keep going at them until they are nice and flat. So here's another one with the jump assist. Oh no, the jump did not assist. It did the exact opposite because I was landing right in front of them, so it gave me less ground clearance than normal. How about this? If we come from above, that should drop our ground clearance a lot and make it where we also can't get over them because it's going to hit and then it's going to compress the suspension right there. And by the time it's decompressed, it's just we're smashing into them already. So that didn't work at all. One final test I want to do. If we come at them from a dead stop and just floor it, can we get over them? Right now it's damaged up, so that might make it a little bit harder. I can't even really drive this thing straight. We just kind of start at them and then floor it, push them along. It looks like it has a chance, but the transmission is just confused a bit. So we'll put it to manual mode, put it locked into first gear, and then keep flooring it. Yeah, boy, that's it. That's what I wanted to do, and it did it great. And after all that bashing and climbing, we can still drive it. In fact, we can still jump it into the air, and it still has a suspension that's durable enough to land those jumps. Here we go, another big jump. Well, not really. It has the suspension, but we can't really get the power down to go fast. Yeah, problem with that one is we jumped, and then we couldn't steer anymore because we were flying into the water. So overall, not that much damage, but there's a look at what damage there is, and then we can go ahead and reset it. And then we're going to take a look at the final off-road version of the vehicle, which is the Crawler. And the Crawler is a very stripped down version. You can tell just from the exterior, like it's missing the rear bumper and the trailer hitch. It doesn't have the glass in the windows. The hood is gone. The front bumper is gone. Like, it is stripped down. And then the inside, even more stripped down. It does not look comfortable at all for a limo. This is not the kind of limo I would be happy with. If I paid for a limo and they picked me up with this, I'd be like, that's a neat looking limo, but this is not at all what I had in mind. In terms of off-road capabilities, it's pretty much just as capable as the Gambler we saw before. So if we wanted to get to the top of the hill on Small Island, USA, yep, we could definitely do that. Or instead, we could just floor it and don't let up at all and see what happens, which actually will just get us up to the top anyways, probably. Yeah, this is working just fine. Okay, tire deflated. Not a big deal. Downshift and, oh, come on, transmission. Yep, there we go. All the way to the top, and we are taking a very direct route through here. And the hood exit exhaust is working lovely, polluting everywhere as we accelerate, yeah, as you probably noticed. And now going down the hill at ludicrous speeds, and it's staying upright for quite some time. It should be drivable after that. I think it was just kind of like a bash to the body. A little bit crooked driving, but it does drive great still. I am thoroughly impressed by just how durable this thing is. It's so big, it's so durable, and it's so good at off-roading. I did not expect it to be all three of those. Like, I thought maybe it'd have one or two, but having all three of those is just an impressive vehicle. We're on a paved road now. Well, we were until it didn't really stop at all. So now we're going to try out the race version, which is really weird. Like, why would you have a racing limo? I don't know, but you have one. Here it is. This is what it looks like. And the most obvious question is, how well does it race? Not very well at all, especially on this terrain. I think the biggest problem is the suspension is set up for a really, really smooth racetrack. And here it's just a bit too bumpy, so it can be a real struggle sometimes to actually put the power down. On the other hand, when you're sliding all over the place trying to put the power down, it works as a really good drift car, it would feel like. Here's a good spot to get up the speed, though. You got to make good use of the speed. Crash right into the corner of the tunnel. Yeah, that was a big one. It spun it and everything. You see the whole engine sticking out of the car now. And I want to keep on driving this thing a little bit more. So let's see. Can we get out of the tunnel? Like, we have set up a blockade that blocks the whole tunnel. It's going to adjust a little bit, and we are out of here. I just want to get this thing up to high speed and then chuck it into the dirt like it was an off-roader. And again, you'll probably notice a little hard to get the power down and really get traction. But once you get going, you can go pretty good. And you can also slide it around the corners, something like a drift vehicle. But for driving off the edge of the road, I believe after the next corner, we have a good straightaway that allows us to get up to a nice speed. And then we fly and see what happens. If we can remain in control, this thing's bouncing all over the place, man. All right, here's the straightaway. Get some speed going, get some speed going. Go through that corner, yes. And then fly, baby, fly. All right, nice. Got flight, got damage. That's exactly what I was looking for. Is it going to land on its wheels? Unfortunately, no. We'll put it onto its wheels, though, so we can take a better look at the damage. There we are. Damage looks fine. Just ignore that spiky spot in the middle. That was for me yanking at the car. And now I want to do some more off-road testing. So let's head to Utah, USA, which has a different kind of off-road terrain. And for this map, I only plan on using the Monster because I feel like the Gambler and the Crawler really got to show their stuff on Small Island, USA, but Monster, it was just breezing through everything so easily. You gotta test it other places and see if anything can slow it down. Like if you do some really crazy off-roading where you jump off the road halfway through and then it slides to the side, it doesn't care. It doesn't care if you do something like that. Or how about this? What if we drive through the desert at high speeds? So if we get going, we should be able to drive at like 60 to 70 miles per hour through here. There we go, we're at about 60. And it is managing this terrain like a champ until it accidentally smashed into a wall, basically. So the front has been ruined there, but there's nothing that really could have survived that. That was basically a straight impact. Not really the Monster's fault there. So again, we get up to speed, try to avoid the big rocks that are taller than me. Because ain't nothing going to be able to do good against a rock that's taller than it. There we go, up to 50 miles per hour. We are once again moving through the desert, bouncing around, and it's doing a swell job. No complaints from me. Going through a bunch of rocks there. How about this rock? Yep, that's too big. That broke the front drive shaft, but again, very impressive off-road capabilities here. Now, for one final test, we got to see if we go to a flatter area, does the race version actually work well? And I should probably give it a nice racing color because by default, it's just black. So we'll give it the red. That looks like a nice racing color. And then another fun thing you can do is you can go ahead and do a small modification to the trunk. So you go to body, and then we go all the way to the trunk, and we could give it the little spoiler with the luggage rack and stuff because I think it looks neat when it has that. And now we are ready to race. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I also want to see how this thing drifts. We got to test that later on. Right now, just regular racing capabilities going through a harder corner when you have a car this long. You don't usually feel that corner is so difficult until you have a car that's double the length you normally would. And it's like, whoa, we have to go left and right super fast. Oh, look at this guy, though. He wants to drift. All right, we're going to do a huge drift. Check this out. This probably isn't going to work. We're going to try to do a massive drift through here, though. Just power through it all the way to the next corner. Come on, come on, come on. Hold it. Oh, not quite, but it almost made it. Like, it lined itself up pretty well to exit that corner, though. In the end, kind of impressive. Not what I was going for, but it was pretty cool. All right, now, a little bit more race focused here. Get around this corner without drifting it. Oh, but it wants to drift. You see that bounce starts to happen. And when that happens, it wants to drift. It bounces a lot, I'm noticing. So even when you're on a smooth surface like this racetrack, the suspension is just so stiff that the bouncing can happen at any moment. Even going 120 miles per hour down the straight, you can see a little bit of bounce every now and then. We're going to go through this corner as smooth as I can, but the way it's set up, it's going to slide. There's no way around it. It's going to slide as we go around this corner, but that was a clean slide. Now we really need to slow down for this. Oh, actually, we shouldn't be slowing down. We should be crashing this. When you have a car this long, I bet it looks really interesting when you get impacted over 100 miles per hour. And this straightaway here is perfect for getting over 100 miles per hour. In fact, we're already almost 100 miles per hour, so this thing is pretty fast. It is very difficult to control it over 100 miles per hour, though. It's like almost smashing into a wall already. We can keep accelerating down this straightaway, reaching probably about 130 miles per hour before impact. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. And here it is, 135 miles per hour, and we are just barely going to hit this thing. It's a very, very small divider, and we're hitting it with like a small overlap crash test style hit. Oh, yeah. Oh, camera's glitching out a little bit. Don't glitch out too much. Good camera. Oh, and that's really like the worst way you could have hit that. It just shredded the whole side of the vehicle off. You got doors flying everywhere, wheels flying everywhere. Absolute destruction. And we've come to a complete stop. It really grabbed us hard, so we can go ahead and speed things up. And this is like a worst case situation for the mod. It does look a little bit weird in some places, but overall it held up surprisingly well. And then for the other side, it should probably look pretty decent, I would think. Yeah, that side not nearly as damaged. So now, what I want to do is finish this up with a good old leap of death. And I think this should be a pretty fun one. And we're going to use the obvious choice here, which is going to be the monster. We could try to do the race, but there's no way it could get the traction down. The monster, it can get the traction down, and it has a lot of power, so it can go pretty fast off of this jump. Check this out, going about 60 miles per hour as we hit the jump. The nuts are swinging, and we are flying. Flying pretty far, actually. We're going to do a full speed one here. And the first impact did not flatten it. I was expecting like more of a head-on impact that would flatten it. That one kind of compressed it side to side instead. Interesting. We definitely want to do another run at this, though, and see if we can get one that does more of a head-on straight crash. And if it can't, we got to force that, because I really want to see what it looks like when we do a straight collision. So you know what we could do? Is after Leap of Death, we could just go to Brutal Slope and do a straight impact there, because that's the easiest way to do a straight impact at like 200 miles per hour. And that should be really cool to see as well, because here we are now done. So now let's go ahead and make our way over to Brutal Slope and check out what it does there. For this map, I'm really not sure what version of the vehicle to use. I kind of want to use the race because I assume it would be the fastest, but I also kind of want to use the monster because I think it might have more stability because it's all-wheel drive. Because as you've seen, just keeping the race version a straight line can be a little bit sketchy with its suspension setup. We'll try the race. If it doesn't work, we'll try the monster afterwards. Nice and easy. Let it accelerate, let it shift, and then floor it. Yeah, I think it really wouldn't matter which one we use because we're going to be going faster than the transmission can go anyways on both of them probably. So like we are now past the transmission, we can keep accelerating, it doesn't matter. Blow up the engine, doesn't matter. Going to be going 250 miles per hour, smashing into the wall with my limousine. Here we go. Camera's going to probably flip out, so we'll actually freeze it for a second. And it's happening fast. Like this is 100 times slow-mo, but it looks so much faster than that. Look at this thing just compress into nothing. The whole car is the crumple zone, and nothing else is left. So anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Till next time, this has been WhyBeAre, and remember, if you like or dislike this video, I will know. I can tell by measuring the length of the LeGran. So do the right thing, and I'll see you next time. By the way, this last Brutal Slope wasn't actually in the script. I just decided, you know what? It'd be a lot easier to do that kind of crash instead of doing like 20 to 30 takes at Leap of Death or whatever it takes to get one that actually smashes it straight down.